Hello everyone and welcome back to AustinPlus, where today we are answering a question that is, I don't know how to put it, but British television used to have a very clear identity, sharp writing, standout performances, and shows that felt distinct from anything else on TV. From iconic sitcoms to gripping dramas, it constantly delivered quality over quantity. But lately, that conversation feels just a tiny bit different. So, what really happened to British television? So, without further ado, let's get into it. I think we need to gather when British TV was actually at its peak. At its peak, British television stood out because of its focus on strong writing, unique voices, and tightly structured storytelling. Shows were often shortened and more deliberate and less focused on the stretching out content across multiple seasons, but which allowed them to maintain quality and impact, which I think is what most actually television actually lacks on these days. Whether it's comedy, drama, or crime, British TV has had a reputation for being sharp, efficient, and creatively bold. However, there has been a shift because global audiences have seen this a bit differently, because one of the biggest changes has been the shift between toward a global appeal, with many British shows now designed to reach international audiences rather than just the domestic ones. While this has increased the visibility and budget, it has also led to a very much more standardized style, where some shows feel a bit less distinctly British than they aligned with the global television trends. So a lot of the British television was very niche to Britain, so when it hit global appeal, not many people understood it, because they didn't live in the UK. So the British television was often reflective of the place, which is why it didn't reach as well for global appeal. However, later down the line, especially now, there has been a big influence of streaming platforms, because streaming platforms have really completely reshaped the way we watch British television by changing how shows are produced, distributed, and consumed. Because we can watch much more British television, especially me. I can watch stuff that I traditionally like to watch, when I'm in the UK. And now, while they've created more opportunities and bigger budgets, they've also increased the competition and pushed content towards binge-friendly formats, especially with the crime drama stuff, which can sometimes prioritize pace and accessibility over the slower character-driven storytelling that British TV is actually known for. In crime dramas, I do think it's very character-driven. There's always one good and one bad person, like the police officer and the murderer. I think that's very typical. Do you know how I know? Because every night I go in that living room and there's always something on. There is also nowadays a lot of fewer risk-taking shows. It's basically all the same shit to me. Obviously, if you ask my parents this, very different situation. But I think this is just the same shit a different day, or a different night for my case. Another noticeable shift is the reduced willingness to take creative risks, as networks and platforms become more focused on projects that are likely to succeed, and this often results in safer concepts like crime drama, familiar formats like sitcoms like Emmerdale, not a sitcom, but drama, but Emmerdale, and what's the other one? Coronation Street. I think that's gone for about 60 seasons now. There is also fewer experimental shows, which can make the overall landscape feel less unique and less daring than it once did. One UK British television thing is actually Peaky Blinders, which I think is very different, but I do believe that it is necessary. Is a very good British interpretation of the time of Peaky Blinders, and I think it's one good thing that I think was good, as well as Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is amazing. With traditional sitcoms these days going through a bit of a decline, British sitcoms were a very big defining part for the television identity at the time, known for their originality, distinct humour, but they have become less prominent in recent years. Changing audiences' habits, the rise of global comedy styles, and the difficulty of creating universally appealing humour have all been contributed to fewer standout sitcoms compared to previous decades. As I said, Ted Lasso have done it right. Now, it does take a lot to move to bigger markets. Now, because many British writers, actors, and creators are now moving towards the larger international markets, particularly in the United States, where budgets are higher and opportunities are broader. While this does expand their reach, it also means that some of the talent that once defined the British television are basically contributing to the global projects nowadays. And I think that's very typical. That's also very understanding nowadays. It's the circle of the working life. Like, some people stay, some people go, and that's how it works. But because there's more of a obviously global television stuff, especially in the UK and the US, just British television isn't the same. So is the quality actually worse? The conversation around the decline is complicated because British television is still producing high quality content, particularly in genres like crime and drama, but the difference isn't necessarily a drop in quality, but a shift in consistency and cultural impact, where standout shows still exist, but feel less frequent or less defining where they once were. Now, in saying all of this and about the quality and lack of quality, there is also a audience standpoint, because we change our expectations on a daily for when it comes to films or shows. But audiences' expectations have always changed significantly, even by the day, with viewers now consuming more content than ever across multiple platforms. Attention spans, viewing habits, and competition from global content have all shifted what audiences look for, making it harder for British television to stand out in the same way that it ever used to. So this begs the question, can British TV find its identity again? It still has the potential to redefine itself where it is. It has the potential to redefine itself in the UK. I do not think it has the chance for globally, because especially if it leans back towards the what originally made it unique: strong writing, distinct voices, and willingness to take risk. The challenge is balancing global appeal with a local identity, ensuring that it doesn't lose what made it stand out in the first place. So, what actually happened to British television? It didn't vanish, it just adapted, and it didn't adapt well. It's just, how do you adapt from there? But in trying to keep up with the global audience, it may have lost what it made it feel unique in the first place. British television didn't suddenly disappear or fail, but it has changed under the pressure of globalization, streaming, and shifting audience habits. The identity that once made it feel distinct has become less defined, but not because the quality is gone, but because the landscape around it has just evolved. But there you have it. That's the end of today's video. I do hope you all enjoyed it. And if you did, please leave a like and subscribe and comment also if you'd like to see on the channel. But I hope you have an amazing day as always, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye. Yeah.